Hi, everybody. This is Diane Gilson with InfoPlus Consulting. We used to be InfoPlus Accounting for about 30 years, and now we are InfoPlus Consulting. So I'd like to welcome you today to our AI for Work Basics to Breakthroughs. And today we're going to work on solving a business problem. And of course, none of us have any business problems, right? Everything goes smoothly from the beginning of the day till the end of the day, and there are never any wrinkles or difficulties. Sometimes it'd be really nice to have somebody kind of standing next to you and helping you solve that business problem. And maybe you're lucky enough to have somebody in your company who's just sitting there and waiting to help you as the day progresses. But just in case you don't have somebody like that, I think you're going to find this to be really helpful. Let's go ahead and just get started on what we're covering today. And you guys will get the slides, and I'll show you how to go ahead and get the slides while you're here in the meeting, but that'll come just a little bit later. And of course, why are we getting together? What's the reason behind this? First of all, AI is actually here. It's not coming, it's here, and companies at all different levels are adopting it really quickly. I'm besieged all the time with this company is doing this thing with AI, another company is doing that thing with AI, the big companies, and it's starting to filter down into the small and medium-sized businesses. And of course, if an employee knows how to use AI, they're going to be able to help their employers and they're going to become a more highly valued employee. And unfortunately, people who don't learn how to use AI may very well be left behind because remember way back when computers first came along? Maybe you're not that old. Okay, but I remember it. And we used to work with adding machines on our desks and our spreadsheets for roll out big pieces of paper and so on. And then computers came along, and only the partners in my CPA firm had access to computers. But over a period of time, all of us did. And of course, getting to be relatively competent with learning how to use a computer just became a basic. And maybe it's like Excel. Those are a couple of examples. Of course, now we're all used to our cell phones. These things just took over the world by storm, and AI is doing that as well. We're turning into a society and a business place where it's a whole lot less about what you know or what you learned 5 years or 10 years ago. Although, of course, our day to day work is very valuable because AI is something that we can use. We think of it as AI plus humans. AI is not able to just create wonderful things all on its own. It certainly needs us, but we can certainly use it. It starts to become more about what you can do with the existing knowledge you have, and maybe a whole lot less about what you learned 5 or 10 or 15 years ago. And who can remember that anyway? I don't know about you, but I often laugh and say, I can't remember what I had for lunch 2 days ago. Pulling all of that book learning that we got maybe back in other classes and so on, it's really about what can we do on a day-to-day basis. Now, for any of you who don't already have ChatGPT, so everybody who has ChatGPT, I'd like for you to pull it up in the background because that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be working in ChatGPT. But if you don't happen to have a version of ChatGPT, you're just here to see what it looks like. Of course, I can show you what it looks like, but if you want to jump in and do things with it, you can go to chat.openai.com and you'll be able to get a free version. You don't even need to put your email in. So that's neat for those of you who are hesitant to put your email into an unknown area. You can even go about doing it that way. And of course, you can get also a free version where you do put your email in. And then, of course, we know that there are paid versions. Now, we use the $20 per month version. There is a version out there now that's running 200 a month. We have not gone that route because we can get pretty much everything that we need in the $20 a month version, and you get some extra bells and whistles with that and a little extra speed, and they don't throttle you in terms of how many different chats you can have per day. You're going to be getting this, and you'll see the source down here. You'll be getting this handout, and I'll have you download it during our session here today, and you'll be able to click on that source if you want to go out and see more information about that free version. Okay, so also why we're getting together today, part of it's a financial perspective. Most of the people that are here today likely have some sort of financial background. Now, maybe there's an engineer or two or a programmer out there, which is absolutely fine, but many of us are likely in the financial arena. And so, as an individual, each of us wants to be able to work faster and smarter and more efficiently in our day-to-day work. Maybe we can get home at 5 o'clock or leave at 5 o'clock as opposed to 7 or 8 or 9. And of course, it means that we become more valuable in our role and we become more employable. So as everybody is learning how to use AI and Chat GPT, that's a value you're going to take to your current employer or even a future employer. If you have employees, of course, we would like our employees to be able to work faster and smarter and more effectively. And that means that our company is going to be able to provide services or products more effectively. And so that as a company, we can have a little bit better result on our bottom line. And then what about our clients? We'd like them to be able to work faster and smarter and more productively as well. All of us have been in circumstances where we're working with a client and we just wish they had a little bit more on the ball. And of course, if we can teach them how they could use AI, then we can become their heroes and help them move along the path of greater effectiveness and productivity and profitability. Okay, and just a little bit about me, how I got involved in working with AI. I started exploring it, actually a little bit more than a year ago, and I gradually started leaning on it and learning more, and I really got hooked. I'll bet I use ChatGPT 10 to 15 times a day. Every time I have a little question, I go, oh, let's just go ask ChatGPT. And I don't have to go bother somebody or wait for somebody or get on the phone and leave a message and wait for somebody to get back to me or do a chat for somebody that may get back to me in a very long time. I don't know about you, but I absolutely don't love those chats where it takes us 45 minutes to get a simple question answered. And in many cases, I can go right into ChatGPT and get an answer right away. Now, I realized also as I started using it that ChatGPT is going to provide multiple ways to help my clients become more profitable. So I've spent the last 30 years helping people set up their internal accounting systems in a way that would provide useful management accounting reports so that they could look at that information and make better decisions and run their companies more effectively. But in reality, there are so many layers and so many pieces within most companies that ChatGPT can help with. The numbers are a great place to start. It gives you objective data. On the other hand, figuring out how to deal with, I don't know, maybe a troublesome employee, or maybe you were over budget in a particular job. Why did that happen? ChatGPT is going to help you think your way through and apply some potential solutions to those circumstances. So even though the numbers may show you certain information, the numbers don't always provide you with solutions other than that, oh, here's something that needs to be fixed. So ChatGPT can be used by every role within every organization. It's not just for the IT people or just for the finance people. It can be used at all levels to solve all sorts of issues and provide additional information and strategic insights. So what happened is I gained all this curiosity about how I could use ChatGPT in a better way. I ended up joining a group called Simple Consultants. And in this group, we have over 100 AI focused consultants pretty much from all over the world. And this is where we share our AI learning and creative ways that we can use ChatGPT to help our clients and help our own companies. That's why you saw that little simple logo at the beginning. So for today's workshop, basically what we're going to do, I'll have a quick tip for you in case you haven't used that particular thing before. I'm going to walk through some agreements that we drew up for these particular workshops. Now, a workshop is a little different than just sitting and listening to somebody train. So this is not training, this is a workshop. You're going to be doing stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can download this file from the Zoom chat. And so if you haven't done it yet, you might want to go down to the bottom of your screen and look for within Zoom the chat icon and open it up. You'll see it'll pop up off to the right. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to introduce you to a prompt and copy our prompt into your chat GPT. Now, if you're not familiar with what prompts are, they're just basically instructions, and you're going to have a look at something that I developed for you that you'll be using today, and it's going to help you solve a business problem. But some ideas that you might consider, what kinds of business problems are you thinking about? So give yourself a couple minutes while we're going through these opening pieces and think about what kind of business problem are you really facing in your business? And could you use some help? So pretend you've got a business associate or somebody that you really know and you have a lot of trust in what they're going to share with you. Be thinking about what kind of a business problem that you might put out on the table and share with them and ask for feedback. Because we're going to get some authors coming in and giving you some ideas today. So start thinking about your topic. As soon as something occurs to you, go ahead and make a note for yourself because it might be there and gone. Get that note down so that you can use it when we get there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to work about 10 minutes. You'll work on your own individual results, and then we'll take about 15 minutes to get into some breakout sessions so that you can collaborate with each other and discuss the results that you got and what you think of it. And then we can get back together and we can share and come up with some takeaways and wrap up. So let's go ahead. Here's the tip. This is an easy one. I'm not going to go into all of the details underneath each one of these, but directly to the right of your chat. Now, if you can see over to the left, I've got ChatGPT showing as a partial screen, and then there are three little dots, and in there you'll see options. So I gave you a screenshot of those options, and when you click on those little dots, you have several options. So one is that you could actually share this link to that chat with somebody else. And in later sessions, we can go into a little bit more detail about what's included in that share. You can add it to a project, and we'll talk about projects as we move forward. You can rename it, and I find this to be the first really, that was what I first found was that I wanted to rename things because ChatGPT will put a name on it lots of times, but it might not be the way you think about it or that you'd want to go search for it at a later point in time. You could archive it or you could just delete it. And every once in a while, I go through and just delete things. Now, you'll see here, I'll share this little tip. You'll see that I call this research -02. I set up one chat that I keep going back into when I've got short little questions that I want to ask. And I just use the same chat over and over again. And I just keep rolling different questions in there right through there. And I finally got so that, I don't know, I must have had 60 questions in my first chat that was research -01, and I finally started a new one because I thought it ran a little bit faster. So that's my research -02. But you can rename these to be anything that you would like. And that can be very handy as you're scrolling back down through prior chats if you want to refine something that you've had open before. I'd like to go into a few agreements here, and that is that, first of all, we're recording. and we'll make the recordings available in 5 to 7 business days. If you would like a link to the recording after the fact, you can send your name and email to AIinFoPlusACCT.com for a link, and we will send you a link to the recording. And then because it's a workshop, what we're going to do in the future, not today, okay, but we're going to close the doors to the workshop as soon as I share files that you'll be downloading, and you're going to have a couple today. But usually that's going to be 10 to 12 minutes after we start. And that really does prevent interruptions for on time people. And we did start a couple minutes late today. We're not going to close the doors today. But the whole idea is that if we've given things in the chat for you to download and somebody else comes in, they won't see that download and then they'll be asking questions. It's just easier if we say, okay, we'll leave it open for a little bit, but then close it. Another thing that I'd like to share about information you put into your chat is that you might choose to put confidential information in there, something that you know, or you might name somebody else, or you might want to enter hypothetical information. But one of the things that we've been advised as consultants is to work on your work. Okay, think of something that's applicable to you and put that in and use it. But don't share confidential information in your breakout sessions. Of course, the one that's inside your chat GPT. If it's something confidential, you can delete it, or in many cases, you just want to be careful about what you put in because ChatGPT does use data for its learning unless you tell it not to in a background section of your settings. And then on the breakout sessions, I don't know if you've done those, but you will see a timer on your screen that shows how long is left in your breakout session. And then there's going to be a short delay before you rejoin the main Zoom meeting. I've had it happen to me where the breakout session stopped and then all of a sudden everything went blank and I thought, oh my gosh, they closed it down. But just be patient, don't leave, and we'll be back. And the breakout sessions are not recorded, so keep that in mind. So just practice, download a file from the chat window in Zoom. And I have the chat window here. And I am going to go ahead and put this set of slides that are in the PDF.
We did send that file out, our chat, so that can be downloaded by participants.
Thank you. My co-hosts are covering for me. Thank you, guys. Okay, all you have to do is click on it and it will download, and you're going to see a little blue arrow that says you've downloaded it, and you can put it wherever you want to on your computer, and then you're going to see a green check mark, and then if you want to open it, keep it up in the background, you're going to see a little gray pop-out arrow. If people could put something in the chat, and maybe we could check and make sure that went well for you, because we're going to do another one in a minute. Okay, so let me go back. And I have to give you the file, not I can share it on the screen, but I need to give you the file. So just a moment. Okay, so this is a text file, and I'm going to drop it in there and hit send. And you guys should see something that says business problem prompts. Okay, so if you would open that up, and if you've got your chat GPT over on the side of the screen, then what we're going to do is we're going to go into 10 minutes of library time. But before we do that, what I'm going to do is show you what that file looks like. And I'm going to open it up. Okay, are you guys able to see my prompt, or do I need to go back into it in a different place?
Diane, I do see that text file up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, once you get this up, and you can save it if you'd like, I don't want you to copy and paste the whole thing. Okay, we're going to make it easy. Just copy part 1, and before you copy it, you could see where it says insert problem here? You could either do this after you put it in ChatGPT, or you can do it right in the text file and say, I'm trying to, and you can put your problem in there. You could take the parens off, of course, and then say, and I'm struggling to, the part you're stuck on. And then This is the prompt, and it says we're giving instructions to ChatGPT. So we're telling it to ask me 4 clarifying questions, ask us multiple choice questions, and when you start answering, you can just put in A, B, C, or D, or 2 of them if you want. And E being other, always ask the questions one at a time, and then change the next question based on my previous answer. And after I answer the 4th question, summarize what you've learned and ask, what would you like to do next? Now, when you get to that point, I would suggest not telling it what you want to do next, but then go in and copy part 2. Now, you shouldn't have to change anything in part 2, but only copy part 2 and paste it in. Get to the end of that. If you get to the end of that, some of you may not, but if you do, then go into part 3 and you can copy and paste that. And we're going to ask for an action plan with specific steps over, in this case, 5 days. Now, if you wanted to change the number of days in here or how many things to do each day, you could change that if you'd like. So, is everybody clear on that? Just go ahead and let's see. Why don't you raise your hand if you're pretty clear in it? Okay, I see that. 1 or 2 people. Any questions about just copying and pasting these parts? I'm just going to show you what that looks like real quick. So if I go back over into ChatGPT and I pull this towards the center of my screen, okay, up here is my part 1, and then here are all my results down here, and then here I'm putting in part 2, and then I get results. And I did this last night ahead of time, okay? And then I went ahead and I actually added a couple things in because you get to talk to it as you go along. You can put anything in here, pretend it's an assistant. You can put extra information in. And then in this case, I asked for emails and I did 2 or 3 other things more creatively on the side. Any questions that I should answer?
Diane, we do have a question. I am in the process of responding. A question about, are the forward slashes required? And my answer is, although they're not required, they're simply a convention to help break up the text to make it easier for us as users to read.
Yep, and apparently that's some leftover from coders, people that did coding. Yeah, not absolutely necessary, but it just helps give you also a little mental when you're putting your own information in, that it also helps you remember not to hit enter, because as soon as you hit enter, everything's going to run through ChatGPT pretty quickly. Okay, so I'm going to start a timer. I'm going to set my little timer here in the background for 9 minutes, and I'll give you a 1 minute warning. And I'll put myself on mute, and I'll give you about a 1 minute warning and let you guys work on things. Read things as you go, but just keep moving. And of course, you've got the prompt, so you can, if you don't get through all of it, that's no big deal because you can keep working with it after the class because you'll have it. Okay? So I'll mute myself. Okay, so that time probably went pretty quickly. And again, no worries if you didn't get done. And now I'm going to ask my co-host, Rachel, to split us up into breakout rooms and maybe 3 people per room. And rather than the full 15 minutes, maybe we cut it down to about 12 minutes because I want us to be able to do the takeaways at the end and share with each other. So, Rachel, I'll leave it up to you. And then they didn't see this, but I said in the background I'd run the business scenario, the business problem. Mine was I'm trying to help my client develop a strategy to get expense reports each month from her employees, and I'm struggling to write a friendly but firm policy to provide to them. And then these are the results that I got back. Okay, so this was my problem. And so what happened is it gave me some questions. And I responded in this case to D, what's the main reason your client wants to formalize the process? And I said, it was all of these. They had a variety of reasons. And then, how does your client currently collect expense reports? And I said, through email and by employees submitting paper forms. In this case, I said both A and C. Question 3 that ChatGPT gave me was, what issues is your client experiencing in the current process? And I said, let's see, I said D, all of the above. They're not sending them in on time, they're not complete, it's hard to track and manage expenses efficiently with those problems. And then, what tone would your client like the policy to have? And then I basically said friendly but firm, balancing clarity with approachability, although could have been strict and formal, focusing on compliance. Lots of choices in there. And then it summarized what ChatGPT says what it had learned based on what I provided them. And then, what would you like to do next? Do you want me to draft a sample policy and to suggest steps and so on? I could have said, yeah, why don't you give me a sample policy? But instead, because I did want to move through this prompt, I did part 2. And this one is about, give me a set of potential solutions from books by experts that could help solve my problem. And then here are all the instructions about that go along with that. And then it said here, this one came from Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business by Gino Wickman, and what I would do and why I would do it this way. And that was a focus on clear frameworks and then communicating expectations clearly. So another author and the name of the book. So if you wanted to go to that, you could go to it. But it's like you've got the expert looking over your shoulder, giving you something very specific for what you're looking for. And then here is Atomic Habits. Love that book by James Clear. Make it easy and automated. And then another one was Use Positive Reinforcement by The Surprising Truth About What Motivates Us by Daniel Pink. And then this one is from Stephen Covey. And so you get all these experts giving you some insights. And then I said, which one do I like best? I said, hey, I like all of this. Create a policy that encompasses. So I went off on my own. Okay. And said, create a policy. And so it's just, this came out and it's very, very cool policy. And maybe not everything that you would actually put in it, but it certainly gives you the format, the outline, and certainly in good enough shape for you to take it forward. And then I said, oh, now I want an email to accompany this. Again, this wasn't in the prompt. This was just me going on my own and saying, I want an email. So now this is an email that's going to go to my client and tell them that I've done this work for them and what it includes and next steps and so on. And says you want me to help draft the communication plan for your client's team. And it just keep doing things for me. And I said, not at this time. Now I want to go back to that 5-day action plan. Yeah, it says in the form of a checklist. This doesn't look too much like a checklist, but the idea is that you could copy and paste this and create your own little checklist. But day 1, do these particular things. Day 2, do these things. Day 3, do these things. It gives you very specific steps, and some of
Diane,
them are quick
I
and
just wanted to
easy.
mention that one of the things that was really cool to me is in part 3, and I copied and pasted the text from you, and I didn't get into a deep dive when I pasted the text, but what I realized after I started seeing the output was that you actually had a chat GPT prompt in the output that I could turn around and copy and paste into chat GPT to get more help on whichever the step was for each day.
A prompt
Cool.
is included in here in each one of these so that you could pick up a prompt within each one of these things to help you. That's, yeah,
I thought that was really neat. So I just wanted to
it's
point that
writing
out
its
that
own
something,
prompts for you.
yes.
It's saying, oh, here's how you can tell me to do more work for you. How often does that happen with your assistant saying, oh, tell me more ways that I can help you? Should be getting pretty close to wrapping up our sessions. Looks like people are rejoining us. Do we have everybody back, Rachel? Rachel is leaving her mute on and just nodding, so I assume. Yeah, I would like somebody from each group. And I'm sorry, but I forgot to say that I was supposed to choose somebody to take notes and so that you can come back in and share, but I know you guys can sort it out. So whoever's the boldest within each group can step forward and unmute and share what some of the takeaways were from your breakout room.
I'm very bold, so I'll go first. Okay. So I was lucky enough to be in a group with Lori and Hannah, and I have experience with ChatGTP, but I use a real life problem because I'm getting ready to move. And so I said, which should I choose, friends and family or hire a mover? And I did run into a glitch at the end of part 2 and had to reset, but it worked exactly like I thought it would. And gave me lots of interesting reading material that I could go look at if I wanted to, because the question referenced what's your source material, books, which were good. And so my big takeaway is a lot of what you're going to get out of it, just like everything, depends on what you put into it. So good prompts are crucial to getting the results that you want. And detailed prompts, I think, once you get into it, that's the key takeaway for me is you got to ask good questions, got to give ChatGPT the right way to respond if you know it, or refine it over several attempts. That's
Okay.
my takeaway.
Did the other people in the group have cool things happen?
You have to ask them.
Well, you were supposed to be talking to them, Tracy.
I thought so. I hesitate to speak for other people and what their impressions were, but because I was in a group with Lori and Hannah, Hannah, of course, is just getting to know it all, and Lori has some experience, probably about the same level of experience I do, or more with it. And so far, we all seem pleased with the promise of the capabilities that it showed us.
Okay, terrific. Okay, and we have another group. Is somebody willing to step up out of that group to chat?
Sure. I'm not sure. So one of our members ended up being on the phone, or in our group ended up being on the phone the entire time. I did not get the name of the other person I was talking with, and I don't see them. Wonder if they left the discussion, but anyhow, I think it was great breaking it down. I'd never had it, used it to have me ask me questions and filter through things, made things definitely a lot more organized and kind of, I'd say, more critical thinking. So it was a big time saver on being organized. Mine was just been researching a new vehicle and trying to look at purchasing and the pros and cons. So it was pretty helpful in organizing that. And even one of the options was creating a matrix that would do that for me. And I've used it for some things like that, but had never thought about it that way. And the other member that was in our group was trying to find nonprofit organizations to do more accounting work for and some grant writing and all. And I think it was helpful. I shared my screen with some tips and things that I used. So
Yeah, that's the idea, the collaboration, because everybody's going to come at it in a different direction, which is the beauty of ChatGPT. You can solve all sorts of issues. Do we have any other groups, Rachel? Was it primarily those two? Okay. And then in the background in the recording, I stepped through, I said, I have a client that needs to have a good policy, internal policy for getting expense reports back from employees. And it asked me really good questions and so on. So that'll be in the recording. Thank you so much. Now let's just take just a moment or two. And since we're sponsoring this, I'd like to just tell you about some things that are coming up. Here are 3 different ideas that you can try, which if you downloaded the slides, you could automate your client email responses. You could simplify some tax code research. You could generate invoice descriptions. So I don't have to go grab my master tax guide and start digging through it. I can just ask for some. Now you need to use your human intellect. So just make sure that when you do some of these things that the answers are correct as far as, but you can check it against a couple of other places, particularly like on tax code research. I'd be really careful with that. And
Diane, could I interrupt just a second?
Sure.
I've found that if you ask ChatGTP to identify its source material, you can check pretty quickly whether something's right or wrong. Yeah.
I agree. It seems to be putting source material in more frequently, particularly if you click on the little world icon down there where it's checking the web as well. So yeah.
I've done that occasionally as well, and I would just double check that because sometimes the source is not a real source. It almost seems to make up sources occasionally.
Yeah, you have to proceed with caution. So that is always, it's human plus AI. On the other hand, we also found that human, lots of times it will give us a good answer, and or lots of times it'll give us an answer that gets us close. Okay, maybe it doesn't give us the exact place to go, but it'll get us closer than if we were trying to do it totally on our own. On Friday, we're going to do a customized action book, Start with Why, from Simon Sinek. Same time, 2 p.m. Eastern, and then next 2 weeks from today on Tuesday, we'll go out. You can start thinking about a procedure that you want to have ChatGPT prepare for you. I don't know about you, but I do not love writing procedures. That's something that can be very helpful. So we can workshop that through. Last page on the slides is on the left side. You'll see pretty much in this section, this relates back to our job costing orientation over the last 30 years and some of the products that I've developed. So if you want to click through on any of those, you'll learn about those at buildyournumbers.com. All of these are products that I have developed. And then we do have, if you want to send an email to AI and tech at infoplusacct.com, I'll let you know about all the upcoming workshops. And you'll get a download of 10 ways AI training transforms teams and drives results. And then if you have other questions, we do have a lot of other additional free resources and also advanced AI training options. This is my Calendly link. It's a 30-minute link. So if you want me to show you a few other things that you might find to be valuable, get in touch and I'll share that with you. I'm looking at my clock and I think we're about 20 seconds short of the top of the hour. So we made it. And thank you everybody for being here today. And I hope you'll join us for the upcoming sessions as we dive into some other topics as we move forward. So,
All right. Thanks, Diane. This was wonderful.
okay. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your
You.
week.
Thanks, Diane.
Appreciate it very
Okay.
much.
Bye-bye now.